For American sportswear label FUBU, sales peaked at home in the late 90s. But overseas, it was a different story.
International was requesting us for a long time, since '96, but to learn these different territories and learn, sometimes these guys don't pay you, sometimes these guys are bigger counterfeiters than anybody else, and sometimes these guys are good people. So the learning curve of seeing who to deal with took about 4 to 5 years. Then when we went abroad, everybody wanted the product, and we put it out there, and we decided to acquire other lines domestically, like Coogee and the other brands we have. So why start a new line here when we currently have this great brand that's a lifestyle brand that we think will live forever?
You're struggling financially. You decided to pull out of the U.S., consolidate your resources. Why the acquisition decision?
Oh, we weren't struggling financially. We were fat and juicy at that time. we weren't struggling financially at that time, and we have a great distribution deal. So what we decided was, why cannibalize our own money and our own product with something that's very similar? So we went out and reached out to a legendary brand. Now, Coogee was already distressed. It was like finding a pot of gold that's just right there, and we just thought that was a natural home run.
Are you still growing internationally? Do you feel like you've reached a cap there?
No, we haven't reached a cap there. I think that in China, before we obviously came across these financial times, that we were slated to open 400 stores by 2012. And what we understand is that China will basically energize the rest of Europe. You have to go into those territories with partners who know what they're doing, people who set up Donna Karan and Tommy Hilfiger, and people who've been doing things for the last 50 years in that market.
7 years after you left the U.S. market, why is this going to work?
Well, we don't know if it's going to work, and that's the way we approach everything. But you know, since we left the market, we still made custom clothes for all the artists, and I guess when the 80s retro thing came in, the 90s thing came in, and people started saying, I want to wear this FB product, this FB, where can I get it, where can I get it? So the challenge that we have is that now when the product comes in, where do we set the price point? Where does the quality and where is the distribution? We already have the people's interest, but it doesn't guarantee that it's going to sell.
Well, you yourself said that your customers are having tough credit, so why now?
I always feel that in a time like this, when people do not have the money to go and get what they want, they start to look at what they aspire to. So when the money does free up, if you've been seeing this product going here and there, you actually don't want to wear what you were wearing when you went through tough times, and you start to aspire to wear something new. So that's how we see things.
When you look at kind of your revenue and where you stand right now as a business to where it was in 1998, where are you?
I wouldn't say I prefer 98, but I prefer 2008, because in 98, when you're growing and busting at the seams, you can't really get a handle on everything. You want to look at your staff and you want to say, well, you're hiring this person, that person. Tomorrow, your payroll may be 10 million. But if you know you have a steady climbing business, and you know no matter what, everybody's getting 10 to 15% a raise this year, you know your numbers to expect next year. So I really like where 2008 was, when we were doing a number not as big necessarily as busting at the seams, but a very, very healthy number, and we can start doing healthy projections and run a real business.
So much about this isn't just about FB Legacy or FUBU. Right. It's also about building your brand as an individual. You have books, you're an author, you have your TV show, you now actually have a marketing company, Shark Branding. How important is it to build a brand and a culture around the individual to be able to have a successful line?
People are branding you no matter what. I think that we invest in people and we don't invest in companies. People who invest in FUBU usually invest in me, whether it be B2B or people who say, I like the guy, I like what he makes. I was spending so much time taking care of my brand, and after you do it for about 15 years, you realize you're actually a professional in a certain space. So a lot of companies started to come to me to try to get me to explain to them how to talk to this segment of the world in a pure voice, and I decided to create Shark Branding. After that, I decided to only heighten my brand if I'm being seen in the business world. I never want to be on some kind of reality show running around doing some crazy stuff, seeing my family. But if I can help people, anybody from African Americans to Asians to anybody else, to understand brands, I love entrepreneurs.
When we come back, Daymond John on hunting down his next investment on ABC's Shark Tank.